Set in Los Angeles, this city has a very high record of bank robberies, with even a bank being reported robbed every hour. We are shown several sheriffs who are stopping to buy food, followed by the arrival of 2 black cars containing the robbers. They hold the officers at gunpoint. The robbers only intend to take the armored car brought by the sheriff. However, because the driver was stubborn, the robbers forcibly broke the front glass. But eventually these sheriffs were shot dead because they tried to fight back. At the same time, one of the gang's robbers with hacking skills named Mac was undercover while monitoring the situation. Mac informed his partner that help was almost arriving, so the robbers had to hurry to finish their plan. But because they didn't have enough time, they immediately arranged their positions. Soon, the police began to appear, and a gunfight ensued. Some of the robbers had to die there. The battle continued until the robbers managed to kill all the police officers and immediately left with the armored truck. Upon arriving at the hideout, the robbers' leader named Ray Merriman was a little upset about the loss of one of their members. However, his comrades, consisting of Bosco and Ensign LaVue, tried to calm Ray down. Then the last robber named Donnie Wilson immediately checked the car to make sure if there was a tracker or not. The next morning, last night's crime scene was filled with law enforcement officers, and this case would be handled by the sheriffs led by a man nicknamed Big Nick O'Brien. Unbeknownst to them, Bosco was around the area to spy on the sheriffs. Bosco immediately reported this to his partner. They quickly sought information about the sheriffs with the principle, know your enemy, and you will win the battle. On the other hand, the sheriffs investigating this case began to speculate about who might be involved. Nick and his team suspected Ray Merriman, who was on parole. To investigate further, Nick intended to get information from an amateur criminal he knew, Donnie. Switching to Donnie, who worked as a bartender, he was currently visited by a guest named Wolfgang, who worked as a police officer at the central bank. Here, Wolfgang secretly gave Donnie an access card to his workplace. Then, when Donnie was about to go home, he was attacked by Nick until he passed out. When he woke up, Donnie was at Nick's residence to be interrogated about his relationship with Ray. Donnie tried to lie, saying he didn't know Ray well. However, Nick tortured him until Donnie couldn't breathe, eventually making Donnie admit that he was just a hired driver in the gang. So Donnie didn't know Ray's purpose in each robbery, including when stealing the armored truck yesterday. The deal Donnie couldn't refuse was Nick using Donnie as a spy in Ray's team, with the guarantee that Donnie would gain his freedom. Donnie was then allowed to go home. The next day, Ray and his crew gathered in an abandoned building to discuss their next heist, which this time targeted the Federal Reserve Bank, the place where money from smaller banks is deposited. Here we learn Ray's purpose for robbing the armored truck previously, which was to infiltrate the Federal Reserve. However, this heist would not be as easy as they imagined, because the Federal Reserve has very high security. Ray added that the core of this plan was to infiltrate the money deposit area and steal money with unregistered serial numbers, which were estimated to be worth 30 billion daily. Next, Donnie applied for a job at a restaurant, a regular provider of lunch for some employees at the Federal Reserve. The following day, Donnie started working, delivering food inside the bank. Here we can see the tight security within the location, starting from ID checks to multiple security doors. Donnie delivered one food package and then went to a restroom where there was an open ceiling panel. This was undoubtedly the work of an insider, and Donnie used this ceiling panel to hide the remaining food. Meanwhile, Ray and his crew were having dinner, and his girlfriend was also present. Suddenly, Nick appeared, pretending to know Donnie from the gym. At this point, Ray, who already knew Nick was a sheriff, realized something was wrong. Upon returning to their hideout, Ray immediately interrogated Donnie, who eventually confessed that Nick had forced him to be a spy. Donnie also revealed that Nick and his team had been watching and investigating Ray and his gang for a long time. Hearing this, Ray decided to change the plan to mess with Nick. Ray now instructed Donnie to tell Nick that the heist would take place on Friday, but forbade Donnie from revealing the target location. The next day, Donnie gave this information to Nick. Nick planned to gather more information by visiting Ray's girlfriend, who worked as a stripper. Long story short, after persuading the woman, Nick got the location of the bank to be robbed on Friday. However, this was all part of Ray's plan, as Ray had ordered his girlfriend to provide this information to Nick. The day of the heist arrived, with both teams, sheriffs, and robbers, preparing their equipment. As the robbers approached the heist location, the sheriffs were ready to monitor them. The robbers quickly gathered the hostages and tied them up, then instructed the bank officers to call the police, stating that the robbers were demanding a helicopter and cash. Upon receiving the report, the police and FBI began to fill the location, disrupting Nick's team's surveillance. An officer attempted to negotiate with the robbers via phone, but Ray's team didn't care about the negotiation and chose to kill a hostage as a warning for the police to meet their demands. While waiting for the helicopter, the police, FBI, and sheriff started to plan by looking at the bank's map, trying to find a way to ambush. Suddenly, they heard an explosion they thought came from the robbers breaking into the vault, but Nick decided to storm the bank. Inside, the robbers had disappeared. Nick saw that the hostage wasn't actually killed and found an explosion hole that, upon further inspection, led to an escape route. Meanwhile, Ray and Ensign were executing their plan at the Federal Reserve by posing as money depositors using the stolen armored car. Donnie hid inside the money box, while Bosco and Mac disguised themselves outside to perform their respective tasks. Upon arrival, Ray and his team deposited the box containing the money. Then Bosco executed his plan by cutting the central power, disabling the bank's operations. It was time for Donnie to act. Using an EMP, Donnie disabled the CCTV cameras, then proceeded to take the $30 billion they had planned to steal and threw the money into the trash. Simultaneously, bank officers, noticing the CCTV error, returned to the room to ensure security. Fortunately, Donnie finished just in time as he managed to enter the air ducts. Donnie navigated the vents using the bank map he had. Meanwhile, Ray's team completed their money dealings and prepared to leave. At the same time, the money Donnie disposed of was being handled by an insider working as a garbage collector. Back to Donnie, who had made it to the restroom. He retrieved the food he had hidden yesterday, which was clearly spoiled. Then Donnie delivered the food to the regular customer. When leaving, Donnie used Wolfgang's access card to open each door. However, he was still held up at the reception because the staff noticed Donnie wasn't on the guest list today. But with a little excuse, Donnie was allowed to leave. Meanwhile, the garbage collector carrying the money discreetly altered his route and was replaced by his colleague. Soon, Bosco, who spotted the garbage truck, followed it while contacting Ray. After taking over the garbage truck, Ray's team continued their journey. At the same time, Donnie was heading towards Mac to regroup at the meeting point. But suddenly Mac, who saw Donnie being taken hostage by the sheriffs, immediately called Ray to inform him of this. Not knowing what to do, Ray decided to stay focused on the plan, which was to destroy all the cars to eliminate evidence and then leave with the bags of money. Meanwhile, Donnie, who had been beaten up by the sheriffs, finally opened up about the escape route, prompting Nick and his team to rush to the location. At the same time, Ray's team was stuck in traffic, and soon Ray realized that the sheriffs had arrived behind them. Realizing that the escape wouldn't be safe, Ray's team quickly prepared their weapons. At the same time, the sheriffs, having handcuffed Donnie, slowly infiltrating to ambush. Suddenly, Ray managed to launch a surprise attack, killing one sheriff. Ray's team attempted to flee, leading to a fierce and balanced shootout. Unfortunately, Bosco lost his life in the skirmish. Ray and Ensign decided to leave the highway, but didn't realize a sheriff had flanked them, causing Ensign to be taken down by an unexpected shot. With the remaining bullets, Ray continued to try to escape and chose to cross a fence but was hit by several bullets, injuring him. Meanwhile, the dying ensign took his last breath. In the ongoing shootout, Ray had run out of bullets and lost a lot of blood, making him increasingly helpless. However, as a true criminal, Ray was too proud to surrender and deliberately exposed himself as if ready to fight, and Nick shot Ray dead. After all the robbers were dead, Nick returned to his car and realized that Donnie had disappeared. When Nick's team checked the robbers' car, they only found bags filled with shredded paper. After several days, the case went cold. However, what's interesting is that all these heists were masterminded by Donnie, who collaborated with Wolfgang, a Federal Reserve employee who provided access cards and all the information about the bank. Donnie gave this information to Ray to execute the heist, but secretly Donnie had his own plan, which involved changing the escape route for the money truck. In short, Donnie is now a bartender at a bar in London, possibly planning a diamond store heist. And the film ends. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe. Because by subscribing, you have supported me to make better videos. See you in the next video.